Advaita Pancharatnam of Sri Shankaracharya, explained by D.B. Gangoli. We have seen already 4 sessions. Today is the 5th session in that. We have been seeing the meaning of first shloka of Advaita Pancharatnam, which has totally 5 shlokas. So, today we will continue. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Dr. Krishnamurti Shastri, Dambe Punacha, Karnataka, India. Advaita Pancharatnam. First shloka. Naham deho nendriyanyantarango नाहंकारः प्राणवर्गो न बुद्धिः तारापत्यक्षेत्रवित्तादिदूरः साक्षी नित्यः प्रत्यगात्मा शिवोऽहम्. So we had seen na aham dehaha, I am not the body, na indriya, only the body is related. Sakshi Nityaha Pratyagatma Shivoham. I am Sakshi, eternal, Pratyagatman, or the innermost self. Sakshi Nityaha Pratyagatma. This subject today we are dealing with. I am Sakshi, eternal, Pratyagatman, or the innermost self. Now, another question will arise. That is, if this phenomenon of I, which we utilize in our day to day transactions, is none among the body, the senses, the mind, etc., nor is it the ahamkara going by the concept of or notion of I, then quite apart from and beyond all these, which is that entity, that is our essential nature of being, how at all can we determine that it exists? It is to be said that those who raise this above question are the ones who have a pronounced proclivity and predilection towards the external anatman alone. For the body, the senses, the prana, the mind, the intellect, and the ego, all these are objects, cognizable things. The cognizing essential nature of being consciousness is distinctly different or separate from these, and this truth has been reiterated previously. It being so, merely on the count of a statement that none of the cognized objects like the body, the senses, is myself, how can it be justified or established that the cognizing I itself does not exist? Objection. Even if we accept the fact that there is no consciousness or sentience in the body, and the senses, all of us, in the body and the senses, all of us have to perforce admit that in our ahankara or in our antahkarana there exists consciousness. For without using the antahkarana, we have never gained by any cognition. It being so, if we discard ahamkara, in the form of which it is the substrate for cognition, and say that there exists yet another essential nature of being, how at all can we determine its existence? Further, how at all is it possible for us to determine that in that particular entity there exists cognitive consciousness? The statement of yours that this ahankara of the form of I does not exist in deep sleep is true, but then we do not also have any cognition or consciousness. On the basis of that experience of the sleep, too, it amounts to concluding that higher than or superior to the ahankara, there does not exist any entity whatsoever. Consolatory explanation. It is true that it appears to us that there exists consciousness in our antahkarana, but we cognize our antahkarana. We make it appear to our intuitive experience, anubhava. Therefore, antahkarana also has become an object. In addition, it is established that our essential nature of pure being or swarupa is separate from it. Because of the reason that antahkarana or I notion cognizes external things or objects, if it is being argued that in it, antahkarana alone, there exists consciousness, then because the senses cognize the external objects, why should it not be determined that in them only there exists consciousness? If it is contended that because of the reasons that the senses are objectified by the antahkarana, the functions of these senses cognizing and not cognizing are also dependent upon the associated with the antahkarana alone, the consciousness that exists in them is in truth that of antahkarana alone. Then it becomes thereby established that because of the reason that antahkarana also is objectified by our essential nature of pure being or swarupa, which which cognizes the functions of the antahkarana itself, like cognizing and not cognizing, should necessarily be separate and different from antahkarana, as also the consciousness of or the faculty of cognizing that exists in the antahkarana, being associated with and dependent upon that swarupa alone, in truth belongs to or is that of our swarupa indeed. Then it evolves from this line of intuitive reasoning that Chaitanya or pure consciousness alone is our swarupa or essential nature of being. This Chaitanya, which is our swarupa, is Sakshi or the witness or witnessing consciousness. It means it is capable of cognizing the whole gamut of anatman or non self directly, intuitively. To wit, it does not need any mediate means, the mind, the senses, etc. To wit, mind, intellect, these words, in addition to their being interpreted as antahkarana vrittis, are also used with the meaning of the whole antahkarana. In this treatise, we have used the word manas or mind to mean antahkarana. Do not they recognize their respective objects directly, intuitively? Only if they have some external help, they are capable of cognizing. For instance, if the mind has to cognize a beautiful picture or scenery, it needs the help of the seeing sense, indriya, and this later sense has to have the sense organ with eyes. These eyes need further the help of light. Thus, all other cognizing subjects, vishayis, are capable of cognize by having some sort of an interval or recess in between them. But this our swarupa does not cognize, intuit either either the antahkarana or for that matter the whole of the anatman in this manner at all. It eliminates whatever object presents itself before it without any vyavadhana or interval or recess, as well as without desiderating any karana or means, instrument of cognition directly, intuitively. Because of this reason, it is nitya or eternal, perennial. Nitya means being without the limitations or restrictions of time, which is nothing but a particular thought construct which flashes to our intellect in our waking. waking state. Because of the reason that all the objects which appear to us in the waking have invariable to appear within the time frame, we have to reckon them to be unreal objects restricted by time. But our Swarupa, which illumines by means of its Chaitanya the whole gamut of Anatman associated with time, it is not touched or tainted by time, and hence time cannot limit or restrict it. Therefore, this Chaitanya cannot undergo any changes whatsoever like the objects which are tied down to and restricted by time. For this reason, Chaitanya is also called Kutastha. Kuta means a substance which is a huge mass like a mountain. The analogy is taken from the fact that just as a mountain does not move or quiver a wee bit even when a big storm hits it, similarly, this our Chaitanya, which happens to be our very Swarupa, does not undergo any change or mutation whatsoever in its core or essence of being. The word Nitya, conventionally in common parlance, has another meaning. That thing, that, though it is undergoing changes continuously, which exists in time alone, is also addressed by us as Nitya. For example, we have believed this our earth to have existed like this for a long time, is it not? But it is found that by our geologists that the earth which existed 1,000 years ago has not remained as it was without any change whatsoever. Further, after another 1,000 years, it would not exist as it is now. Even so, in the form of earth, it is called Nitya or eternal to that extent. It was there, it is there, it will be there. The form may change, but the existence will be there. According to the viewpoint of the empirical or physical sciences, dravya or matter never gets destroyed. It may undergo changes, mutations, transformations, etc., but not that its very essential nature or core of existence in the form of nuclear particles never becomes non existent, because you cannot destroy an atom or the proton present inside it. We may break the atom, but we cannot break the proton, neutron, electron. So, the dravya or matter exists. We cannot destroy it completely. We can cut it into pieces, into minute particles up to the subatomic level. But we cannot break down the subatomic particles till now in the science. We can break the atom, like in the atomic bomb, but we cannot break the subatomic particles like proton, neutron, electron, positron, etc., mesons, etc. So, the matter exists forever. We cannot completely destroy it. You can break down it till the subatomic level, not beyond that. That's why it's called as Nitya. So, according to this theory, even if we say or believe that our earth gets completely destroyed, its matter or very essence of being has perforce to exist in some other subtle, imperceptible form, avyakta, indeed. Therefore, or asat. Therefore, it amounts to saying that earth or its very core matter is a changing, eternal entity. Changing eternal entity, Nitya entity. Such entities are called Parinami Nitya. But when we say our Chaitanya, which is our Swarupa, is Nitya, it is not meant in this sense, for it does not exist in time, nor does it undergo any parinama or transformation, mutation whatsoever. It is nirvikara, meaning it is a kutastha nitya vastu. It is not parinami nitya, it is kutastha nitya vastu, not being within the purview or ambit of any change whatsoever. Apart from this Chaitanya alone is Pratyagatman, meaning that real Swarupa of ours, which exists innermost in all of us. As already described, on certain occasions we transact that we are the body. Sometimes we transact that we are the senses. But the existence of the body, see how we transact as the body? By telling the name, I am so and so. So we indicate that our body, the name, not for the soul. Sometimes we translate that we are the senses. For example, I have not seen. Hmm? That indicates I am the I. I have not seen means my eye has not seen. But we are telling that I have not seen something. So there we predict ourselves as sense, that is eyes. So, but the existence of the body is always associated with the sense knowledge, and hence we can think or imagine that the senses are the essence of existence, internal to or inner than the outer body, meaning comparatively between the two, the senses are our real essential nature of being or swarupa. Among body and senses, senses is the inner one than the body, because senses identify our body also. Senses can see our body also. That's why. In the same strain, we may carry on this deliberation and can conclude on that basis that prana or the vital force or the energy, manas or the mind, buddhi or the intellect, and ahamkara or the ego, I notion or concept, I concept. In this order are, in a more profound sense, our inner swarupa. For we come to intuit that if we leave one and go to the next inner constituent, the later is endowed with a superior existence than the former. To wit, in the above list, between prana and manas, the later appears to be the superior existence than prana. Similarly, buddhi has superior existence or being than manas, and ahankara has a superior existence than buddhi. Further, we come to cognize the fact that the existence of the later constituent is dependent upon the other constituent. But even after reaching up to ahankara, it does not appear that we have reached our real Atman, meaning our real absolute Swarupa. This is because, as depicted above, Sakshi has eliminated all the constituents from ahankara up to the body by its Chaitanya. It has lent existence, as it were, to this subtlest of those in the list of constituents with ahamkara. So, the Chaitanya is also called as Chit. So, what it has lent the existence to all starting from ahankara till the body, that we are telling as Chidabhasa or Jiva. That is the abhasa, or just a reflection of the Chit or of the Chaitanya. So, that is called Chidabhasa. Therefore, this Sakshi Chaitanya itself is our innermost essence of being as Atman from the Paramartha Drishti, or the viewpoint of the absolute ultimate reality. May not be in the Vyavahara Drishti. That Sakshi Chaitanya alone we should truly call I. In truth, the divine light of Sakshi Chaitanya is shed in bits in all these constituents like Ahankara, Buddhi, Manas, etc. And for this reason alone, they too have become fit to be addressed as I in our day to day transactions. Like moon shines, it is not its light, it is the reflection from the sun. Like that, only our body, senses, pranas, mind, intellect, aham, all these are illumined by the Chit or Chaitanya or Kutastha Chaitanya. Or the Pratyagatma or the inner soul. That's why, because it is illumined by the Chit, all these are called as Chidabhasa or Jiva. If you observe intuitively, these ahankara, buddhi, manas, etc. are not our real Atman. They are reckoned to be our Atman through misconception, wrong knowledge. Therefore, Sakshi Chaitanya, which is innermost to all these phenomena like Ahankara, Buddhi, Manas, etc., and which is in truth the Atman of all of them, is itself our Paramatman. Being, meaning, intuitively speaking, or in the ultimate analysis, more than all these misconceived Atmans, the really real Atman, who is Pratyagatman, our innermost self. So, this is the point we have seen today. I am the witness, eternal, hmm, and I am Sakshi, eternal, Pratyagatman, or the innermost self. We have seen this today. So, next tomorrow we will see I am Shiva. How? Here the meaning Shiva means I am the Paramatman. Now we have seen I am the Atman. I am the Paramatman. How? We will see in the next session. Thank you. Hare Rama.